I have so much that I want to share with you. First, let me introduce myself. Hi, my name is Carrie, and I want to be your reader. My goal here, hopefully, is to bring you some sort of insight into something going on in your life at this time, or some sort of inspiration to help you move forward into something new. If anything in this message today resonates with you or relates to something in your personal life, I would love to hear about whatever it is. Go ahead and drop a comment in the comment section. And with that said, let's get started. So today, starting out, I have Flaff the Footer. So alright, we're looking at this cute little fairy here holding on to his feet, sitting there on the mushrooms, and it's kind of an autumn setting. So what I'm getting with Flaff the Footer here is kind of relating to holding yourself back, potential stagnation, or something decomposing, right? So we might be looking at a situation in your life to where it's like you've felt good, you felt strong about something, and then suddenly you're starting to kind of doubt yourself. You're starting to wonder, it's like, is this really how things are going to go? Is this really what I've got, coming forward in my life? Flaff the Footer here, we're going to go ahead and look at this situation in your life a little bit deeper, so we can kind of see where you might be getting in your own way, where you might be overcomplicating things, or whatever this you need to resolve in order to allow you to move forward, right? Alright, so let's go ahead and pull some tarot cards. I've got my Robin Wood tarot deck here. Alright, starting out, I have the Four of Cups, right? So if you look at this gentleman here, he sees these three cups sitting in front of him, but he's ignoring this fourth cup right behind him, right? So there might be some sort of a blessing, some sort of circumstance that has come in related to whatever the situation you're looking at that you might not want to pay attention, whether you know it's there and are ignoring it, or whether you don't know it's there, right? So there's definitely this recommendation to take a moment and really look at the situation as a whole. Try to look at the bigger picture to see if there's some sort of a blessing that you're not noticing, right? Alright, next up I have the High Priestess. High Priestess definitely, very much a card about intuition. If you're familiar with the classic Rider-Waite, you have that black pillar and the white pillar, which are represented by the trees here. You have her holding her crystal ball, looking in the book, so, she is definitely someone who is more about insight, trying to understand hidden things, mysteries. So whatever this is that you're ignoring in the Four of Cups, it's not just like some small deal. It's not just some little thing that, it's like, little pittance of, some kind of reward. No, this is a big deal. There is something here that if you take the time to really look within, you're going to realize that, like, oh, this is a big thing. This is a big deal, right? Alright, next up is the Page of Pentacles. So you might be early on in some sort of a journey, some sort of learning a skill, some sort of developing something practical, a foundation for yourself, right? You're early on and you're expecting, like, man, everything's going to just jump off instantly. Everything is going to be perfect, and, like, right away I'm going to have what I want. So what we're suggesting here with the Page of Pentacles is that be more patient with yourself, because you got to understand that, like, you're still in the early stages of whatever it is that you're going through. You're still developing that foundational knowledge, expertise, skills, whatever the case being, that's going to serve you, right? So, in the case of, like, you're looking at these three cups, and it's like, man, this is not what I wanted, or things aren't working out the way I want, but then you have that one cup, right, that sitting there in the background. There is something that you have learned or are learning that you are kind of taking for granted, right? Because you want the big thing and you want it now. we're coming into the Five of Pentacles. Alright, so maybe you're feeling left out in the cold. Maybe you're feeling that, like, hey, others have this thing that I don't have, like somebody's got some level of prosperity, some sort of thing, some sort of success on a venture that, like, how did they get this massive success so early on, right? And then you're kind of looking at yourself and you're going, well, why am I not? Why can't I have these blessings? But the reality of the matter is that these two individuals here in this Five of Pentacles, outside this temple, outside of this church, they think that they've been left out, that they're not allowed inside. But the simple reality of the matter is that it's a welcoming space for everyone, right? Like, everyone's allowed to have the blessings, everyone's allowed to have the prosperity, but you got to come around to the door. They're sitting there on the side of the building, looking into the windows. They don't see a way in, but if you kind of really circle back around, you're going to find that, like, the front door is open, and there's somebody there ready, willing, and, to welcome you in. So you do have the ability to have this thing that you're seeing that others have, it, like, hey, they have this success, and I'm not feeling the success myself. It's within your reach. You actually can have it. It's all a matter of your mentality here, right? Next up, we have the Devil. Okay, so if you're looking at these two individuals here pulling on this treasure chest, they have their own personal greed, like one wants to pull it each direction. And the fact of the matter is, even if only one of them was pulling it, or even if they were both pulling in the same direction, if you look at all of these chains, they're not getting this chest anyway. They're not getting this gold anyway, right? You have this idea about, like, what does success look like to me? What, how to take what somebody else has and keep it for yourself, right? And because of that, they're never going to reach the outside light. They're never going to make it to the end of the tunnel to get out into the light. So what I'm getting this kind of impression here is that, like, even if you look at another person's success for inspiration, way of doing things, the simple fact of the matter is, because you are a unique individual, that you are not going to be able to do it exactly their way, right? You're not going to be able to reproduce what somebody else has because you have your own thing to create. You have your own treasure, right? So, yeah, I mean, it's fine to look at somebody else and get ideas. It's fine to look at somebody else and get inspiration so you can kind of, like, learn from their successes and from their failures. But at the end of the day, you have to let go of trying to look like somebody else or trying to create the same kind of outcome that somebody else had, right? So that you can go out there and you can create your own success, right? All right, next up, we have the Seven of Cups, okay? Now, instead of looking at somebody else's, successes, somebody else's failures, you go ahead and you start thinking of your own possibilities here, right? Do you want wealth? Do you want friendship? Do you want love? Do you want, whatever the case you want, right? So, time to start thinking about what are the possibilities from you. What do you bring to the table, or what do you have, what potential is there for you specifically, right? Maybe because you have all these options, maybe because you have all these possibilities, you're not really sure what to do. You're not really sure how to proceed, right? Because you have all these things that might be available for you. So how can we clarify for ourselves what is the right thing? What is going to help us to succeed? What is going to be, our ability to look at, circumstances in life and say, hey, you know what, this is my path. This is the direction I want to go. King of Swords. Alright, so we're looking at this King of Swords. This is a very decisive individual, very sharp, direct cut. His cape here, you know, if you're looking at his cape, you know, he's got all these stars, right? He has this bigger vision. He understands, you know, like, you know, what are his goals, what are his dreams, you know, his tunic here, and, you know, having the image of the clouds, you have all the clouds in the background, the birds, so he has an insight, he has a bigger picture, right, that bird's eye view. So if you kind of, instead of just sitting here daydreaming about all the possibilities, if you just give yourself an honest, hard look at whatever the circumstances are, you kind of step back and get this bird's eye view, you're going to see what kinds of things have the ability to prosper and what things are kind of more ephemeral. You know, this clarity that you can gain from taking a step back rather than like a step in to get a bigger picture. Let's see what we can get from that. Right away, I've got 3 wands jumping out, right? So you have this gentleman here. He's watching these ships come in, you know, and he's seeing his enterprises, you know, starting to gain some success. You know, you got the vines coming up, the wands. So we're looking at here is you already probably have had some success in certain things. Whether, you know, say like if you're starting a business, you kind of look at like, hey, what were those first few customers? What really made the difference between, you know, that person wanting to do business with you versus not, right? You have certain skills that you've been developing that you're like, hey, this really makes it easier for me to accomplish this particular part of my business, whatever the case being. So the idea here is, if you take when you're stepping back, you know, with the, like I said, with the King of Swords, you can see what has already started to work. This is definitely an area that you want to focus on, right? You know, you want to take the thing that has succeeded in it and put energy and time into that, because that's going to allow you to continue to build on whatever that foundation, so that way you can get some momentum. Next up, I have the Magician. Alright, so the Magician, he's got all his tools. He's got all his abilities, his skills, his capacities. He has studied, he has, you know, he knows he can do the thing because he has learned the techniques, he has learned the skills. So what I'm looking at here is the fact that, like, if we go back to this 4 of Cups from earlier, you know, I'm seeing that these 3 cups are the skills that you have developed, right? You know, whether that being like, hey, I figured out how to sell this thing, you know, I figured out how to connect to my customers, whatever the case being. These are the successes that you have gained, right? These are the things where your ventures are starting to pick up some sort of momentum or get some sort of roots going on, right? So the Magician here is this confidence. You know, we got him coming up as a reminder to tell you that, like, you already know what you're doing. You have the skills, you have the capacity. It's just a matter of continuing to implement them, right? So I'm going to go ahead and leave this off here, right? So we're looking at Flaff the Footer. What we're seeing here is that you're holding yourself up because you believe that your success should look a certain way, that your prosperity should look a certain way. And the reality of the matter is, while you can definitely take inspiration from others, you have to walk your own path. You have the skills. You're starting to see how certain things work. Take the skills, continue to practice, continue to build on what you have succeeded with, and you will find more success. It's just a matter of consistency, right? Okay. That being said, if this reading resonated with you and you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications, and I'll see you in the next one.